Good evening and welcome to our Parent Reflections for Vacation Bible School. As we begin this series of Parent Reflections, we're going to be using the exact same themes as the kids have each day. I've always found that repetition really helps drive things home for me. So hopefully between watching the videos with your kids and watching the Parent Reflections each night, we can all draw a little bit closer to Jesus and begin to live as families on this path together. It's so important that we can do this together as families. That these messages, these themes aren't just for your kids, but they're for us. They're for me, they're for you, they're for all of us to live together. The church talks about the family as a domestic church. As many of you know, that has become so much more real in the last few months. As our parish church, the way we normally experience church hasn't been accessible to all of us. We've been left to lead worship in our own homes, in ways to lead prayer in our own homes, in ways that maybe we never have before. But in reality, this is always the vision of the church. Yes, it's good to come together to keep holy the Sabbath, to receive the Eucharist and the sacraments, to be a church family together in our physical church. But if that journey doesn't start in our own homes, if it doesn't start in our daily lives, just showing up to Mass on Sunday, as important as that is, isn't actually going to help us to become disciples of Christ. If we don't take the graces of the Mass, the graces of the Eucharist forward out to the world to be witnesses of God's love, of showcasing how His loves help us do the hard things. How does His love help us to do the hard things? Then it's all going to ring a little bit hollow. It's all going to fall a little bit short. I think that this year has given us no shortage of hard things to talk about. Right? That's the theme today. Jesus helps us do hard things. I know in our own household, the experience of working from home with two working parents while homeschooling, while trying to keep our sanity and not give in to the fear of the unknown has been a lot. But as we hear in our Bible verse today, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, from Philippians 4:13. That we are not in this alone. We're not left to do all things on our own, with our own strength, with our own power. This verse has actually been one of my favorites since high school. It was actually the senior quote that I had in my yearbook. That's how nerdy I am. That my senior quote was, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And I think it's important as we reflect on this verse, as we reflect on this theme, that we can only do these things. We can only face our hardships with Christ. He's the only way we're going to get through it. That when we try to go it alone, we try to do things with our own strength, we fall short. That's where things like pride and vanity or selfishness all seem to get in the way. Or at least they do for me. Maybe your struggles are something a little bit different. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You know, Father Johnson for VBS this morning read the kids the story of the little engine that could. And as we ordered these books, we were reading through them with our own kids to get ready for VBS. And we had just finished reading The Little Engine That Could the same week that I was teaching Zeke to ride a bike. Maybe some of you saw us up on the parking lot or even saw the video that we posted on my Facebook of Zeke learning to ride a bike. And as I was walking behind him, holding him and starting to let go, and he's starting to go, and he finally starts to pedal for the first time, and he's sitting there and he's remembering that theme of the book, and he's pedaling his pedals, and he's going, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And he did, and he took off. Right? He had that belief, that hope that he could do it. Hope is so important. Hope is so needed. It's essential for life. When we give up on hope, we see people begin to do terrible things to themselves and to others. Right? Hope is a vision of the true powers of the world. That we're all a part of God's plan and a part of God's providence. I think if this quarantine has taught us anything, it's how reliant we often are on powers outside of ourselves. We can see the impact of national, of state, of local government in a new way. Right? Maybe we didn't think about who we were voting for in local or county elections, but now we realize those people have a profound power over our lives. We look to leaders to help us see the way forward. They can dictate our every movement, our freedoms, and our daily lives in ways that we often have taken for granted. But recognizing the impact that these leaders have for good or for ill, what we really need to recognize is something we can't always see, which is this. It's the heaven reality is so much more impactful than our earthly reality. It's just not as visible. It's hard for us to see. As we read in Hebrews, it says that now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. You see, hope is a tricky virtue. Sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around, right? Hope is not just this pious optimism, but it's a knowledge that God has won the victory for us already. And that for all the hardships of our world, that the struggle that seemingly we will never be rid of on earth, of injustice, of racism, of poverty and hatred, all the things we're seeing play out in our world right now, we know that there's a greater reality, that the eternal battle has been won by Christ's sacrifice for us on the cross. This sacramental theme for today's Vacation Bible School, for our virtual Bible school, the theme is baptism, which is absolutely perfect. Because we all know that baptism makes us members of the family of God, members of the church. But what it also does is baptism is supposed to give us a vision for that new reality, which isn't always so apparent to us. It makes us a part of a bigger reality that we can't always see, but we so desperately need in our lives. Baptism makes us holy. To be holy literally means in Hebrew to be set apart. We see this play out in the Old Testament, that God called his people to be set apart from the world, to be his holy people. That call is the same for us today. To trust in Jesus to help us to do the hard things is to ask for the strength to see the world differently, to see as God sees, to see the deeper reality that we weren't made for this world, but we're made for the next one. We're called to live here in a way that helps us to live with God forever in the next. To know, to love, to serve God in this world, so as to spend heaven with him in the ultimate hope, the truest reality that exists. I know that in my own life, I'm always tempted by the ways of the world. I'm always tempted to earthly success, to financial security, for status, for whatever it might be. And those aren't necessarily bad things. When they make me lose my focus on the deeper reality, they start to get me into trouble. Just like Israel, when they wanted to be like all the other nations, they began worshiping idols, creating false gods, and they always fell into sin. I think this time of quarantine has helped us recognize and detach from the own idols in our lives. What are they, right? We see sports on Sundays, on Saturdays, and we're worshiping at the altar of sports, whether it's playing or watching them, right? From our businesses, from money. Hopefully we can trust Jesus to give us the strength to do the hard things, to live a life set apart from the ways of this world, to live for him first, and to show us that relationship in our homes, to show that relationship with him, to showcase it to our families, to be witnesses of what God's love is doing in our own lives. Finally, our saint of the day is Saint Therese, the little flower, Therese of Lisieux. She entered the convent at the age of 14. She never left, and she died at the age of 24 of tuberculosis. Yet she is the patron saint of missionaries in the church, the patron saint of evangelization. Why is that? Because her prayer, her daily life, was full of taking every little hardship, every hard thing she had before her, the little sufferings in her everyday life, and she offered them up to God so that everyone might come to know the deeper reality, the more true reality that's not seen. She united her every little suffering, every little hard thing, to Christ's suffering on the cross, asking him to pour out his love and mercy on the world. This became known as the little way of St. Therese. And she's actually the inspiration for another saint we've seen in our own times, St. Teresa of Calcutta, who took her every little moment, offered them to God. Every little service to the poor, and offered it to God for the glorification of God, for the love of the poor, for the love of our world. So today, as we ask God for the strength to do what's hard, let's invite him into every little moment of our day, offering up to him every little thing for the praise and for his glory. Offering him everything that's hard, that might not go the way we want it to, but asking him to give us the strength to call us as he calls us to live in the Gospels, as a people set apart for him, with our eyes on the prize, with our eyes on the truest kingdom of all.